happen, the U.S. is, for example, moving ever closer to war with Iran. In a speech Monday, the Secretary of State threatened to, quote, crush the Iranian government. Congress may get on board with that. There is a debate right now at this hour on Capitol Hill over legislation that would allow military force against Iran. Keep in mind that the American military is exhausted, our government is broke, and Iran, for all its many faults, is far from the main sponsor of terror against Americans. Not even close, actually, no matter what they tell you. Maybe you support going to war with Iran. It's okay. Maybe you don't support it. But either way, you should know that it could happen much sooner than you think. CNN will not tell you that, so we thought we should, and we're going to follow it, no matter how unpopular it is.
We will track down Iranian operatives and their Hezbollah proxies operating around the world, and we will crush them. Iran will never again have carte blanche to dominate the Middle East.
On direct.
The organization claiming the U.S. actions are illegal, something President Macron of France told President Trump today during a phone call. He also warned that economic nationalism like this leads to war.
Iran may be preparing for retaliation against all of that. Israel has gone on alert, as you say, in the Golan Heights in northern Israel. Shelters are now ordered to be open. Everyone is, including the U.S. military.
Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has said the United States has lost its cards in Syria, calling on America to leave the country in an interview with Russia today. Assad said, "The Americans should leave. Somehow they're going to leave. They came to Iraq with no legal basis, and look what happened to them. They have to learn their lesson. Iraq is no exception. Syria is no exception. People will not accept foreigners in this region anymore." The U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, a predominantly Kurdish group that controls parts of northern Syria, has been dubbed by Assad as the only problem left in Syria. He said it would be confronted with force if negotiations fail.
If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
Scripturally, the earth is Europe, the home of the Caucasians. Adam was raised from the dust of the earth. Adam, Britain, came from Europe, from the immigrants, rejects, exiles, the dust of Europe. Britain is made up of islands. Britain is not in Europe. The British language called English is a language made up of many languages from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. The alphabet and numerals are derived from Arabic. The rise of Prophet Muhammad forced the Europeans and British into 1,000 years of so-called Dark Ages. This is the deep sleep that was put upon Adam. When Adam Britain awoke from his 1,000-year slumber, there was Eve, America taken from his side. America derived from the British people. America started out as a colony and extension of Britain, but eventually became independent. The tree of knowledge of good, evil, and life, actually one tree, was transplanted from Africa to Eden, which is America. America is the Garden of Eden. The tree is the original nation transplanted from Africa to America. The good part of the tree is symbolic of the Levite Muslims, and the evil part of the tree is symbolic of the Levite Christians. The life part of the tree is symbolic of the Muslims from the tribe of Judah, the true Israel. The other parts of the tree are symbolic of the animists and idolaters from Africa. Adam and Eve were told not to go after the Levites, the good and evil parts of the tree, which they eventually tried to do during the tribulation. The life part of the tree, the true Israel, called the elect, the 144,000, are protected. They were removed and spared the tribulation. The nations called beasts in Genesis were named by Adam. Adam is Britain. They have English names which they do not call themselves. Adam and Eve had 3 sons. The first was Cain, then Abel, then Seth. Abel, which is symbolic of Syria, was killed by Cain, which is symbolic of Israel, false Israel. Cain killed his brothers. This is the invasion of the Middle East inspired by false Israel in 1990, the beginning of America's full-fledged war against Islam. 2018, the serpent, symbolic of Obama, approaches Eve, symbolic of America, convincing her that she can safely eat from the tree of evil, meaning she can safely sacrifice millions of black Christians to a contrived war with Russia. This is Babylon Has Fallen in chapter 18. This sequence of events, beginning with the so-called Gulf War, the invasion of Iraq, 1990, ending with the desolation of Parliament in 2018. America makes her opening attack on Islam in her plan to break the back of Islam following the collapse of the Soviet Union. The so-called Gulf War was the first event in the first of 2 attacks against Iraq, where America disturbs the power balance in the region, pushing Iran and Syria into the margins. Iran and Syria are the 2 witnesses of the AL-INJIL, whose power is superseded by the presence of America and Britain in the region. 2008, Obama/Belshazzar, the rider on the white horse in the first seal, comes to power. During this period, Jonah begins his preaching to Nineveh. 2017, Obama, called the serpent, steps down. He is Belshazzar, who was prophesied to be the last king of Babylon, depending on whether he listens to Daniel/Joseph or not, as he was to be overthrown by Darius/Farad. But the prophecy of Joseph was a mercy. If he listened to Daniel/Joseph, such that Babylon/Egypt would be spared until the next Pharaoh, who would bring the plagues down on America and be forced to give up the original people. The Jonah sign, quote, the last sign to be given this evil generation, end quote, defines a scenario where Farad delays Nineveh's, the great cities, America's destruction during Obama's reign, at Jonah's expense unto the Pharaoh, Mr. Trump, a mercy to the NOI in hopes that they will hear Jonah and take the additional time to wake up. 2018, America, Britain, false Israel, Gog, Magog, and the Antichrist respectively pushed against Iran and Syria, the Shia. They are planning to attack Iran, a proxy of Russia, in order to break the back of Islam and to ignite a conventional war with Russia and their plan of the genocide of American and British blacks by war. They want to be able to send millions of reproductive black men and women to their deaths as patriots fighting for their country. However, their plan is interrupted by a preemptive attack by the Shia, who throw them out of the region. America and Britain, defeated and humiliated by their defeat at the hands of the Shia with Russian help and Faraj's help, which they conceal from the public, proceed with their plans of war with Russia and China, using their defeat with Russian help as the pretext to war against Russia. False Israel under siege by the Shia is overthrown and taken. Meanwhile, the American and British attack on North Korea has drawn China into the war. Black Christians are violently resisting and in open rebellion, being forced/drafted into America's war against China and Russia. Their eyes have been opened by Jonah to the truth of America's and Britain's plans of genocide of the blacks by war. Then comes the horrific act, the desolation of Parliament committed against Jerusalem in revenge for the defeat and expulsion of false Israel from the Middle East, followed immediately by the four winds, the plagues.